Jai Gurudev. Hope you have all done your homework and you've been contemplating all week. Let's move ahead with page 299.
Vasistha continued. Now I shall describe to you how the yogi make their bodies atomic, as also enormous. There is a spark of fire that burns just above the heart lotus. This fire is quickly augmented, but since it is of the nature of consciousness, it arises as the light of knowledge. When it thus grows in magnitude in a moment, it is able to dissolve the entire body. Even the water element in the body is evaporated by its heat. Then, having abandoned the two bodies, the physical and the subtle, it is able to go where it likes. The Kundalini power rises up like smoke from fire and merged in the space, as it were. Holding fast the mind, buddhi, and the ego sense, this Kundalini shines radiantly as a particle of dust. This spark or this particle is then able to enter into anything whatsoever. Then this Kundalini releases the water and the earth elements that had previously been absorbed into itself, and the body resumes its original shape. Thus, the jiva is able to become as small as an atom and as big as a mountain.
Okay. This is very interesting to understand that it's not just in theory that a yogi knows that he is made up of earth, water, fire, and air. A yogi actually experiences that he is made up of a combination of earth, water, fire, and air. And in his meditation, when he experiences the truth, as a part of experiencing the truth, he acquires the ability to actually play with the earth, water, fire, and air. How does a yogi acquire this ability and you do not have it? Because you do not realize the truth. Unless you realize the truth, you cannot work with it. You cannot experiment with it. A yogi has realized the truth. Therefore, he can experiment with the truth. Yeah. So how can he experiment? How can he make his body atomic as well as enormous? We'll try and understand. There is a spark of fire that burns just above the heart lotus. Yeah? The heart lotus, just above that is the spark of fire. Now this is nothing but your Kundalini Shakti, the range of that fire, which is also the cool moon and the warm fire. Somewhere in the middle it has a spark which is right above the heart lotus. This is quickly augmented, as in it is increased, but since it is of the nature of consciousness, it arises as the light of knowledge. Again, do not start imagining that in my meditation with my eyes closed, I'm going to see a light and that is the light of knowledge. No. This is just a poetic way of explaining that when a yogi goes deep into meditation, he experiences the fire element in its true nature. He experiences the characteristics of fire and he experiences that light of knowledge. When it thus grows in magnitude, in a moment it is able to dissolve the entire body. Even the water element in the body is evaporated by its heat. So now this is where the yogi has the power to work with what he has discovered as his own truth. Everybody is his own scientist. I can experiment only in this laboratory. And in this laboratory, whatever I experience, that is my truth, that is my discovery. and then I can play with what I have discovered. So just like that, the yogi, having discovered the water element, the fire element, can increase the fire, can reduce the fire just by his own power of awareness and meditation. And therefore, he can augment the fire so much so that it completely dries up the water element in the body, which in turn will also burn up the earth element, and obviously in turn the air is gone. There is no more air occupying any more space. So if the earth element is gone and the water element is gone and air is almost invisible, the fire is reduced down to a particle. Yeah. Hence, the yogi can become atomic at will. Again, please do not start imagining. These can be attained only at higher levels of meditation, where you can obviously go deeper within yourself, and that is what is called a siddhi. Thus, having abandoned the two bodies, what are the two bodies? The physical and the subtle. Both get abandoned because earth, water, fire, air is not only in the physical, it is also in the subtle body. So he abandons both and then is able to go where it likes. The Kundalini power rises up like smoke from fire and is merged in the space as it were. Yeah, basically, it's just a poetic way again of saying smoke comes out of fire and then it merges with space. Like that only, the yogi can become atomic and can merge with space. Holding fast the mind, buddhi and the ego sense, this kundalini shines radiantly as a particle of dust. This is very important. Some people feel that attaining the siddhis is attaining enlightenment. No. Enlightenment has several steps. On the initial steps, you might be able to achieve some siddhis. In fact, you can achieve siddhis even before you reach that stage of enlightenment. So, attaining siddhis is not equal to attaining enlightenment. Why? Because enlightenment is total eradication or demolition or end of the mind, of the intellect and of the ego. Then only can you say somebody has reached full enlightenment. But here very clearly in this it is mentioned that the buddhi is intact, which is intellect, the mind is intact and the ego sense are intact. In what? In that little particle of the kundalini. This spark or this particle is then able to enter into anything whatsoever. Yes, that's how the yogis can enter other bodies as well. Though this sounds very shocking to you, but it is nothing great, and you should not really walk the spiritual path to attain such siddhis, because you can get totally lost in it. It can totally take you away from your main goal of getting out of this samsara. Yeah. Many stories are there in our Puranas where there were people who did meditate for siddhis and they attained the siddhis, but these people were not enlightened. Though they had reached those higher levels, they did not really touch enlightenment. Therefore, you should always be worried that you don't want to be Ravana, you want to be Rama. Then this Kundalini releases the water and the earth elements that had previously been absorbed into itself, and the body resumes its original shape. Thus, the jiva is able to become as small as an atom and as big as a mountain. So, it is just a siddhi. It is nothing to be super impressed about. It is nothing to crave for that, oh, I want to attain that siddhi. If it happens as a part of your enlightenment, good, bonus. But there is no need to misuse the bonus. Yeah, let it stay in the bank. Its place is in the bank. Yeah, the bank of your good karmas. But the moment you generate attachment towards siddhis and towards attaining them, even if you attain them, you will lose them because of the ego, because of the attachment, and because of karma creation. Yeah. So recognize this and understand this is a part of spiritual evolution when you are closer to enlightenment. But your attraction or aversion to siddhis both will take you away from your goal, from your path of enlightenment. So be very, very careful. I have thus described to you the yoga method and shall now deal with the wisdom approach. We can read ahead now.
I have thus described to you the yoga method and shall now deal with the wisdom approach. There is but one consciousness which is pure, invisible, the subtlest of the subtle, tranquil, and which is neither the world nor its activities. It is aware of itself, hence this jivahood arises. The jiva perceives this unreal body as real, but when the jiva perceives it in the light of self-knowledge, this delusion vanishes, and the body also becomes utterly tranquil. Then the jiva does not perceive the body. The confusion of the body with the self is the greatest delusion, which the light of the sun cannot dispel. When the body is considered real, it becomes a real body. When it is perceived with the knowledge that it is unreal, it is merged in space. Whatever notion is firmly held concerning the body, that it becomes. Another method is the practice of exhalation, whereby the jiva is raised from the abode of the kundalini and made to abandon this body, which then becomes inert like a log of wood. Then the jiva can enter into any other body, moving or non-moving, and undergo the desired experience. After thus acquired the experience, it can re-enter the body or any other body at its will and pleasure, or it may seem as the all-pervading consciousness without entering into any particular body.
This is interesting. There is but one consciousness. So all this is just one consciousness, the play of the same consciousness. For example, if I, Ekta, depicts the consciousness, Ekta only goes onto the stage and plays the little drama. Ekta only comes down from the stage and appreciates the drama. And Ekta only is the creator, the director, the actor, all of it. When Ekta is in the audience or off the stage and looking at the stage, that is awareness. That is when the consciousness becomes aware of the object. Even when Ekta goes on stage and plays that role of the actor, it is the same consciousness. It is not really two, but it is just a delusion, an illusion that it is two. So understand this. There is but one consciousness which is pure, invisible, the subtlest of the subtle, tranquil, and which is neither the world nor its activities. Clear? It is aware of itself. Hence this jivahood arises. this jiva perceives this unreal body as real. For example, Ekta starts thinking that the actor on the stage is real, and that is true, that is what really is, and forgets the one who is observing the stage, forgets the one who is observing the actor on the stage. This jiva perceives the unreal body as real, but when the jiva perceives it in the light of self-knowledge, this delusion vanishes and the body also becomes utterly tranquil. The moment I recognize, oh, that which is on stage is not real. It is just a reflection of I. There is no difference between I and that, I and that, I and that. Everything is a projection of my own mind. So there is no two. Yeah? There is no two. There is just Advaitam, non-duality. When this becomes very, very clear that it is all non-duality, it is all just one consciousness, then that is called the light of knowledge. In that light of knowledge, does consciousness become apparent and the truth is revealed. Then body also becomes utterly tranquil. Then the jiva does not perceive the body. As if I'm no more confused that I am this body. I recognize this body is separate and I am the one who's running this body. It is just a machinery. This body is no more I. That separation, that distinction, that viveka arises, that I am not the body, I have a body. The confusion of the body with the self is the greatest delusion, which the light of sun cannot dispel. Means the sunlight which is outside cannot really help me to see the difference that I am not this body. Only that inner light of jnana, of knowledge, will help me recognize, oh, I am not the body, I have a body. And it is just a tool. When the body is considered real, it becomes a real body. When it is perceived with the knowledge that it is unreal, it is merged in space. Yeah. This is what happens at the higher stages of enlightenment. The body becomes merged with space and then there is no more coming back. That is liberation. Whatever notion is firmly held concerning the body, that it becomes. Because everything is a projection of my own mind. Yeah? Remember how he explained right in the beginning of Yoga Vasistha? Yeah? That it is the Puryastaka, the subtle body that actually wishes and desires, I want that and I want this kind of a body, and then it takes on that kind of a body. So whatever you desired, that is what has come to you. Another method is the practice of exhalation, whereby the jiva is raised from the abode of the kundalini and made to abandon this body, which then becomes inert like a log of wood. So we discussed earlier that when you hold your focus in the exhalation at Dvadashanta, you are able to abandon the body, as in the fire element burns the water and earth element, and all that remains is nothing but a small particle that can merge into space. The body becomes like a log of wood. Then the jiva can enter into any other body. Yeah? Then you can get out of this body and enter into any other body, or not enter a body also. Moving or non-moving, and undergo the desired experience. after thus having acquired the experience, it can re-enter the previous body or any other body at its will and pleasure. Or it may remain as the all-pervading consciousness without entering into any particular body. Yeah? All this we've learnt already in the story of Leela. She gets out of this body and goes into the other realm, and there she's a different Leela. We read other stories also where they get out of one body and go into the other, and then they come back into the previous body. So this is how it really happens. Yeah. So in short, a quick summary: to be able to hold your attention during exhalation at Dvadashanta gives the power of that Kundalini Shakti to arise in you and augment the fire so much that it burns away the earth element and dries up the water element. Hence, only a little tiny particle remains, and this particle has the ability to leave this particular body, which just remains as a log of wood, and to go and enter into other bodies, or not enter another body, or come back into this previous body. Very clear? Yeah. Again, warning, it is a siddhi. You can get really enamored by all this and want all this, but really it's not worth craving for. You want to crave for something, crave for the highest. Crave for enlightenment. Crave for uniting with that God. Yeah. Drop these attractions on the spiritual path. Just like there is Maya in the external material world, there is a stronger level of Maya as you go higher on this path. Yeah. So homework number 1, are you working on figuring out where Maya is pulling you down? And are you able to win over Maya now at least? It's been a long time on the path of Jnana. Have you achieved that? If not, you need to get a little more serious about meditation. Yeah. Now we'll read ahead. We'll read page 300.
Vasistha continued. Thus, the Queen Chodara came to be endowed with all the psychic powers, like the ability to make oneself atomic and enormous. She traversed the sky and entered into the deepest oceans and roamed the earth without ever leaving the company of her husband. She entered into every type of substance: wood, rock, mountain, grass, sky, and water, without any hindrance. She moved with the celestials and with the liberated sages and conversed with them. Though she made every endeavor to enlighten her husband also, he was not only unresponsive, but he laughed at her foolishness. He remained ignorant. She felt it unwise to exhibit her psychic powers before him. Rama asked, even if such a great Siddha Yogini as Chodara could not bring about the spiritual awakening and the enlightenment of King Sikhidwaja, how does one attain enlightenment at all? Vasistha said, the instruction of a disciple by a preceptor is but a tradition. The cause of enlightenment is but the purity of the disciple's consciousness. Not by hearing, not by righteous acts is self-knowledge attained. Only the self knows the self. Only the snake knows its feet. Yet, there was a wealthy villager in the Vindhya hills. Once, when he was walking in the forest, he lost a copper coin. He was a miser and so began to search for it in a thick bush. At the time he was calculating, with that 1 cent, I shall do some business. It will become 4 cents, and then 8 cents, and so on. For 3 days he searched, unmindful of the taunts of spectators. At the end of those 3 days, he suddenly found a precious stone. It was a philosopher's stone. Taking it with him, he returned home and lived happily. What was the cause of this miser finding the philosopher's stone? Surely his miserliness and his searching the bush for the one lost cent. Even so, in the cause of the preceptor's instructions, the disciples looks for something, but obtains something else. Brahman is beyond the mind and the senses. It cannot be known through someone else's instruction, yet without the instruction of the preceptor, it is not known either. The miser would not have found the precious stone if he had not searched the bush for his 1 cent. Hence, the instruction of the preceptor is considered the cause of self-knowledge, and yet he is not the cause. Look at this mystery of Maya, O Rama. One seeks something and obtains something else.
This is beautiful, no? So Queen Kudala obviously traversed through the sky, into wood, into grass, into water, into all other objects from her current body, but she could not talk about this to her own husband. Even though he was on the path, he did not have the capacity to reach where she had reached at that moment. So she could not enlighten her husband on this. He would only laugh at her. So Rama asked that even such a big Siddha Yogini, somebody who is enlightened. Siddha means an enlightened one. Siddha Yogini is that woman, yogi, who gets enlightened. Such a Siddha Yogini cannot help somebody else get enlightened. So recognize this, that nobody can get you enlightened. Not even a guru here. Preceptor is the word used for a guru. Not even a guru, not even a teacher. Nobody can gift you your enlightenment. Only you will be able to achieve it and attain it by your own self-effort. By your own effort do you get there. Yeah. And this is said so clearly. We will directly jump to the middle of the page. The instruction of a disciple by a preceptor is but a tradition. It is just a tradition. Got it? The cause of enlightenment is but the purity of the disciple's consciousness. This is very big. How pure your consciousness is, that will determine whether you get enlightened or not. If in your consciousness there is raga and dvesha, are you pure? You are not pure. If in your consciousness there is fear, there is hatred, jealousy, anger, vasana, all hidden, will you get enlightened? You will not get enlightened because you are not pure. How much ever you listen to Yoga Vasistha, whether you teach Yoga Vasistha, whether you teach spirituality, you teach all the spiritual scriptures, but if inside you have even a little bit of raga and dvesha, you are not pure, and therefore you cannot get enlightened. Is this very, very clear? Yes. So even the guru cannot fetch you your enlightenment. You will have to work harder to make your inner environment completely pure, completely devoid of raga and dvesha. And that is what the Buddha said. Buddha said, attaining these siddhis, seeing light in samadhi, hearing the sound of creation, which is Om, or hearing your own heartbeat, all these are siddhis that come with samadhi, that will come with meditation, will come with concentration. Obviously, they are bound to come. But that does not mean you are enlightened. That is why the so-called sages who are teaching all this today, they themselves have anger and hatred and jealousy and greed and thirst for power. What is the point? He said, I do not want to achieve these miraculous states. I do not want to achieve this kind of samadhi. He said, I want to achieve purity of mind, and therefore, following this purity of mind is eradication of dukkha. Otherwise, dukkha cannot go. If little bit also of raga is there in me, I will always be restless. I will want, I'll want, I'll want. That want itself will not let me be at peace. And when I will not be at peace, how can I get enlightened? A little bit of dvesha also, even if it is an ounce of dvesha inside me, it will not let me be at peace. Not possible only. I may not say anything through my lips or do any wrong action with my body, but in my mind, that little bit of dvesha will keep bothering me. And that is an impurity. And impurity in consciousness is the biggest obstacle to my own enlightenment. And how many ever gurus I follow and how much ever courses I do, if I do not work on my inner impurity, I will not get enlightened. Forget about it. Do you see this? Homework number 2. List down all the kind of impurities that you observe within yourself and recognize this is an impediment on my path to enlightenment. How can I work on this? And start working on that. Yeah. Well, if you're not interested in enlightenment, if you're not interested in achieving the highest truth, you should probably not even be in this Yoga Vasistha class. Yeah. The purpose, the sole purpose of the Yoga Vasistha book is enlightenment. One who works sincerely on everything that is given on this book is bound to get enlightened. Yeah. You check. You have completed more than 3/4 of the book. Did you work on yourself? Were you serious enough? Were you honest to your own self, or did you just fool yourself? Check. Time for introspection. Not by hearing, nor by righteous acts is self-knowledge attained. By listening to Yoga Vasistha, you will not attain self-knowledge. By just doing good acts, which is seva, helping people, you will not attain self-knowledge. Not by seva, not by being in satsang, not by being with the Guru. Then what is the point of all this? Yeah, still there is a point. Only the self knows the self. Only the snake knows its feet. This is true. Yet, the story. There was a wealthy villager in the Vindhya hills, and once he was walking, he lost 1 cent. He was a miser, so he began looking for it. And that time he was calculating, with 1 cent I will do this business, it will become 4 cents and then 8 cents. And he kept searching for 3 days, unmindful of the taunts of spectators. And at the end, he found a precious stone. He didn't find his copper coin. He didn't find that 1 cent, but he found a philosopher's stone. Now, he became very happy and lived happily ever after. But what was the cause of him finding the philosopher's stone? That miser was looking for that 1 cent. Like that only you come to the spiritual path for different things. Oh, husband is not treating me well, child is not looking after me, or my parents are not happy, or I am unhappy, or my mind wants something else and life has taken me somewhere else, and blah, blah, blah. For all kinds of reasons, people come to the spiritual path, to the Guru. They are looking for something else and they hit on that philosopher's stone of enlightenment. So that is why the path is required, the Guru is required, the satsang is required. Somewhere at least you will start. Somewhere at least you will begin your journey. But don't get stuck. Don't get stuck. Find that philosopher's stone. Keep looking. Keep looking. You will get there. Surely his miserliness and his searching the bush for the lost scent was what got him there. Even so, in the case of the preceptor's instructions, the disciple looks for something but obtains something else. Brahman is beyond the mind and the senses. It cannot be known through someone else's instruction. Yet, without the instruction of the preceptor, it is not known either. The miser would not have found the precious stone if he had not searched the bush for his one scent. Hence, the instruction of the preceptor is considered the cause of the self-knowledge, and yet he is not the cause. Got it? It is that searching, it is that looking, that self-effort that takes you there. Very, very clear? Look at this mystery of Maya, O Rama. One seeks something and obtains something else. Next homework for you. Have you obtained anything yet? And take your memory back to the point when you actually stepped on the spiritual path. What was your reason for coming here? What did you come to obtain, and what have you obtained? Write it down. So we will stop here for today. Yeah. The next part is all story, so it will be very interesting next week. But before we go into the story, you seriously contemplate. Have you recognized that running after the Guru, craving for this course and that course, and doing this course and that course feverishly does not get you there? Just listening to knowledge, one scripture after the other, as if filling up your bag of goodies, does not get you there. It is your own self-effort. Means your sincere effort to sit down and meditate. Really work on stilling the mind and on clearing up all those inner impurities which are an impediment on the path. These are the only two factors that will help you move ahead on the spiritual path. So contemplate whether I have become an obstacle on my own path with my own impurities, because I don't understand the meaning of what really is spirituality and what can take me higher towards that spiritual truth. Work on this week and start meditating regularly if you've not done so yet. May you all become enlightened in this very lifetime. Sukhi Bhava. Jai Gurudev.